Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Bet Right Sports Betting Podcast presented by the Six Pack Coverage Media Network. It's your host, Jeff Farrell, here with my co-host, Andrew Tanzi, coming at you to break down the NFL Super Wild Card Weekend. We have officially made it to the playoffs. We will start with the AFC and the NFC on Saturday this week, and then we will work our way up to the Super Bowl. We will be here every single week breaking it all down to give you our bets for each one. Rue, how did the final week of the regular season treat you in week 18?
It was good and bad. Like the good part, you had like all the futures bets come through. That's always a good
That was
feeling when those
awesome.
hit the account. But I was just on the wrong side of some just brutal beats.
Yeah.
I was on the wrong side of that Jets one, which just sucked because felt dead right. I was on the Patriots who allowed 2 freaking kick returns.
Yeah.
The Ravens who get in field goal. The Ravens close at plus 11.5. They cover that, but I had 10. They get in field goal range. Sammy Watkins fumble. So yeah, it was just the wrong side of a few things there, but looking to get back on track here in the first round of the playoffs.
All right. Let's hope you can do that. I was on a heater last week. I was pretty much on the opposite side of all of those from you, and I had my best week of the entire season. So looking forward to carrying that momentum into this week.
The one that hurt for both of us, I know, was the Bucs at +7. We both
did hurt.
We both had the first half money line, which hit easily, and then the second half they just got. I think they outscored I don't even know if they scored a point in the second half.
It was like 21-0 or 24-0.
Yeah, that one hurt too.
Yeah, luckily I got a little bit of the Falcons money line live, but still it felt like the Bucs should have at least covered the game and done something. Pretty good week for us on the podcast. We'll go over the recap here. Favorite bets of the week. You had a pretty easy win with the Rams at +6.5 to go to 9-8, one game over 500 on the season. I think the Rams probably should have won that game outright. There was some questionable officiating at the end, but they were really never in doubt covering that spread.
I'm glad because I almost went with pretty heavy on their money line because I just thought the price was outrageous. I felt like the spread was 2 or 3 points too high all week. Yeah. So, that was a pretty sweat-free cover right out of the jump.
Yeah, led by your guy, Cam Akers.
Yes.
I also got a win on my favorite bet of the week, Steelers -2.5. So I claw my way back to even for favorite bets at 8-8 on the year. It's a little bit dicey in the beginning, but overall, I think they were just a better team than the Cleveland Browns, and they showed it on the field. Long shots of the week. You took an unfortunate loss. Cam Akers, 100 yards and a touchdown. As good as Akers was, the Rams really couldn't put the ball in the end zone. There was a lot of field goals in that game, a lot of empty drives that looked promising. So, fortunately, that came to an L for you.
Yeah, Tutu Atwell got the one rushing touchdown for the Rams. So that one definitely hurt.
Naturally. I did get a win on my long shot of the week. I know you gave me some crap for this one. You weren't a fan of it. I thought it made perfect sense. Panthers and Vikings money line parlay, my favorite and my favorite underdog parlayed together. And I go to 5-9 on the year for my long shots +240.
Yeah, the Panthers came through despite Sam Darnold going 5 of 15 with 40 passing yards. And
that game was disgusting. It
a couple interceptions. I can't believe it. Yeah, that was just a brutal game. But it was one where over a field goal just seemed like an easy play on either side there.
Yeah, luckily that when the money line did come home. But it was the one where you were never really worried about the Panthers covering. And then the prop sheet, pretty solid finish, 4-2 on the week, 121 and 108 overall. Missed CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra by like 10 to 15 yards, but hit everything else pretty easily. And a good way to finish out the season for the props.
Yeah, not bad. We were floating at 500 for most of the season, so it was nice to come out a little bit ahead.
Yeah, 13 games over, probably made a small profit, and we'll see if we can build on that in the playoffs.
Yeah.
All right, who do you have as your final hero and zero of the week for the regular season? Start with heroes, actually. Sorry.
Yeah, my hero's got to be a more of a season-long hero, but coming home in week 18 is Doug Peterson taking this Jags team from worst record in the league to winning the division, cashing our +700 preseason division tickets. So it doesn't matter how they got there. Yeah, it didn't look great in week 18, but they got there worst to first. Doug Peterson turning the Jacksonville Jaguars around, my hero of the week.
All right, I'm going to split my hero of the week between two head coaches / organizations that I believe deserved a better fate, and I'm going to miss betting on these two teams. It's Mike Tomlin of the Pittsburgh Steelers and Dan Campbell of the Detroit Lions. I get a lot of things wrong on this show, lose a lot of bets, but two things that I feel like I absolutely nailed down the stretch of the NFL season was correctly identifying that the Steelers and Lions were incredibly undervalued in the market and primed to go on a run to end the season. I'm pretty sure I bet these teams every single week for the last 10 weeks. They ended the season since the start of November. They combined to go 15-4 straight up and 16-3 against the spread. I think I bet on them every single one of those games. So pour one out for the Lions and Steelers, who both took care of business in week 18 and I think deserved better fates. I think we would all rather see the Steelers in the playoffs than Skylar Thompson and the Dolphins, and same thing with the Lions and the Seahawks. So unfortunate that their seasons ended, and thank you for cashing all of our tickets while you were still alive.
Yeah. Yeah, that Lions game was awesome because they obviously ended up winning outright, so it didn't matter, but played out exactly as I had said I wanted it to. After a +6 ended up hitting after the Seahawks had won, so I snatched that up. So got good closing line value. Didn't matter. Aaron Rodgers can take a long walk on a short pier. Guy is just comes up short in big moments more than any other future Hall of Fame quarterback I've ever seen.
Wouldn't be mad if he retired. Wouldn't be mad.
No.
See what happens. All right, who's your zero of the week from week 18? And then we'll get to the playoff slate.
Yeah, I got to go with just the Patriots special teams unit allowing those 2 touchdowns. I was sitting there with a Patriots +7.5 ticket. Mac Jones played one of his better games of the year, and they were right there. The game was there for the taking, not just the cover. And the special teams allowing 2 kick return touchdowns. There's just no excuses. And the Patriots special teams all season has just been shockingly terrible and costing them games, just not looking like a Bill Belichick coach team. So Patriots special teams unit, my zero of the week.
Yeah, that was unfortunate to be on the Patriots last week. My zero of the week, I went with the Dallas Cowboys. It was hard to really identify one person: Mike McCarthy, Dak, Micah Parsons, the whole offense,
Gotta be
the
Dak.
defense. I mean, I guess, but like the defense allowed 26 points to Sam Howell in his first career
19
start. I mean,
because one was a pick 6 by Dak.
Okay, that's fair. But still, it felt like the footballs were moving the ball up and down the field. But yeah, I mean, Dak has just been horrible. 14 for 37 throwing the ball. And that was against the football's defense that you can throw on. The strength of them was against the run. And I mean, Zeke Elliott goes 8 carries for 10 yards, 1.3 yards per carry. Tony Pollard was like 2.4 yards per carry. I mean, just the entire team was an absolute joke. I think I had like 4.5 points of closing line value on Cowboys -3.5. And I also had their money line, wasn't even close to cashing at any point. So great way for them to roll into the playoffs.
Yeah, and now they're somehow 2.5 3-point favorites on the road in the playoffs here.
Yeah, maybe an opportunity to fade them as they're face planting down the stretch here.
Yes. I would also like to issue an apology for our Ravens and Chargers bet. We were under the impression
that was so bad.
We wrongly said that the Ravens and Bengals game and then the Bills Patriots game could have no meaning to the Bills and Bengals. That ended up being incorrect. We got lost in the midst of the hundreds of playoff scenarios. So if you did end up putting that ticket in on behalf of both of us, I do apologize.
Yes, we did feel the pain along with you as the money came out of our accounts and never had a chance of cashing once Anthony Brown was announced the starter, and it was very clear that the Ravens were not going to win that game. So
yes,
that was unfortunate. That's what happens when you have to go to like the 7th tiebreaker to see who's going to get the 2 seed versus the 3 seed. I mean, it's just like
turns out even if the Ravens won, it wouldn't have mattered because the Chargers tried to win for some reason and still couldn't win.
Yeah, apparently, regardless of that, I don't know.
But Brandon Staley, for whatever reason, has all his guys out there for I don't know, just stupid.
All right, with that, we will dive into the playoff slate here. We'll start on Saturday afternoon in San Francisco, where the Niners are 9.5-point home favorites against the Seattle Seahawks, their division rival. The over-under is 42.5. There's going to be some weather in this game. Temperature is going to be in the mid-50s, but there is a high percentage chance of rain here, so we're not exactly sure this far out, but definitely keep an eye on that. The Niners handled the Seahawks in both their regular season matchups. They won 21-13 on December 15th. That was the game the Niners closed -3 in Brock Purdy's first career road start. Then they beat them pretty handily in week 2, 27-7. Injury notes here: Jordan Brooks, stud linebacker, out for the Seahawks. And then Ryan Neal, Bruce Irvin, DJ Dallas, Noah Fant, all questionable. For the Niners, Eric Armstead, Dre Greenlaw, CMC, and Javon Kinlaw, all questionable. It does sound like most of those guys are going to play here. Do you have a play on this one, side or total?
Yeah, I'm going to be on the Niners at -9.5. It just felt like Seattle really started to sputter down the stretch of the season. They won their final 2 games, but neither one did they look good. You already said they probably shouldn't even have won last week. Over the last 4 games of the season, they're 12 for 53 on third down. That's 22%. For reference, Denver was last over the course of the season at 29%. And now you're obviously going to play against probably the best defense in the league here. You have such a massive advantage in the trenches on both sides of the ball for San Francisco. They rushed for 170 and 189 total yards in the first 2 matchups versus Seattle. I just don't know how Seattle, I think the recipe for beating this 49ers team is stopping the run and putting Brock Purdy in uncomfortable situations. I want to fade Brock Purdy at some point in the playoffs here, but this just isn't the matchup for me. Since week 10, Seattle's ranked 30th in run defense DVOA. And that's just against some teams that aren't even good at running the ball. You have the Bucs in that stretch, the Rams, the Jets. We just saw Cam Akers rush for 100 yards last week. So I just don't think Seattle's going to have an answer for this run game. And, the 49ers only won by 8 points in the last matchup between these teams, but it was Brock Purdy on the road on a short week, like in Seattle. And it was an 8-point win, but they pretty much dominated that game. So I just think the Seattle team really started to come back down to earth. They clawed their way in the playoffs, but this is far enough. So I think the Niners win by at least 2 touchdowns here.
I think I'm with you here. I was really trying to make a case for the Seahawks earlier in the week. Some 10.5s even popped up, and I stared at it. I just couldn't pull the trigger. So I think I'm going to be with you here on the Niners. I'm trying to see if it drops into teaser range, because that would be just the easiest teaser you can put in of all time, pairing with Jags or Bucs or something like that. But I think even if it just stays at 9.5, I'll probably join you. This is also probably the healthiest that the Niners have been in a long time. Elijah Mitchell came back 2 weeks ago. Him and CMC present a really nice 1-2 punch. Deebo Samuel was back last week. He's getting reintegrated into the offense, which gives Purdy another weapon. And like you said, they're just going to be able to run the ball and really control this game. And the Seahawks, they only scored 13 points, 277 total yards of offense in their last meeting. The previous one, they scored 7 points with only 216 yards.
And it wasn't even an offensive touchdown. It was a blocked punt for a touchdown. They had no offensive points in the first matchup. I forgot
about that game. Yeah. Niners are top 5 in both the run and the pass on defense. So it's just really hard to find a route for the Seahawks offense to have success. And I just think the Niners have too many weapons to really slow them down. So maybe the Seahawks can backdoor cover it or lose by 7 and make it competitive. But I think this one's got to be Niners or pass for me.
Yep.
Prop looks for you in this one.
Yeah, I took McCaffrey over 73.5 rush yards. I know Elijah Mitchell's back, but it's just a game where you're going to lean on the run. They brought McCaffrey here for a reason, and it's for this home stretch of the playoffs here. He had 26 carries for 108 yards in the last matchup. So even if it's like, 30 to 35 carries split between him and Elijah Mitchell, you're talking McCaffrey getting 15 to 20 carries and needing to average what I think he can, 5 yards per carry against the Seattle defense. So, and like I said, as a team, they rushed for 170 and 189 total yards in the first 2 matchups. So I think it's a great matchup for 49ers on the ground. So I'll look at CMC.
Okay. I like it. I'm a little bit worried about Elijah Mitchell, so I haven't pulled the trigger yet. I wish we could just get one of those. We've talked about this before. You just get like the team rush yards or like CMC plus Elijah Mitchell. I would take that, but I worry a little bit about how they're going to split it up, but I like the idea. I went George Kittle, longest reception, over 19.5. Seahawks are a bottom 5 defense against the tight end position. Kittle went 4 for 93 with a long of 54 yards in their last matchup. Been a little bit down in 2 recent games, but before that, he was over this line in 8 of 12. We know how good he is after the catch, running, breaking tackles. So I think Kittle over yards or Kittle over longest receptions is pretty good as well. I think his yards were like 41.5.
All right, I like it.
Anything left to say on this one?
Nope.
All right, Saturday night game is going to be the Los Angeles Chargers against the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is actually going to be a debate of the week for us. We haven't had one of these in a few weeks, but we are on opposite sides of this one. Jags are catching 2 points at home. The over-under is 47.5. Injury notes: Mike Williams, Kenneth Murray, both banged up in the last game for the Chargers, but both are expected to play. Didn't really see anyone on the Jags injury report. This is 2 starting quarterbacks making their NFL playoff debut in Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. Who are you on here in the Chargers and Jaguars?
Yeah, I love the Chargers here. Jacksonville.
Love them. Okay.
Yeah, I do. Jacksonville 30th in pass defense DVOA, 6.7 yards per pass allowed throughout the season. That just fits right into what this Chargers team wants to do. One of the most pass happy offenses in the league. Trevor Lawrence just been extremely consistent throughout the season. He was absolutely bailed out last week by field position and the defense. They had no business winning that game. He's only thrown one touchdown pass in the last 3 games, only put up 222 total yards last week. Look, I'm not going to lie. I probably would have felt a lot better about the Chargers in this matchup prior to last week when they'd gone 4 straight games, allowing 17 or less points. But look,
Russell Wilson carving them up and down the field didn't make you feel good.
It was a game they didn't need to win. They were snake bitten.
They tried to win.
Yeah, they tried to win. They were just snake bitten by big plays. And I don't know, maybe I'm writing it off more than I should, but I felt like the defense had somewhat hit a strong point in the season prior to last week. The matchup between these teams earlier in the season was the first game that Herbert was playing with those injured ribs. There was no Keenan Allen. And I look back at the Jags schedule over the back end of the year here. Their biggest weakness, the secondary, just wasn't tested. They finished the season 6-1. They played Tennessee twice, Houston, the Jets with Zach Wilson, and then the 2 top-end passing offenses they played in Dallas and Detroit, they allowed 40 and 34 points. So I just think the biggest advantage here is the Chargers passing offense versus weak secondary. I still trust Justin Herbert more than Trevor Lawrence, as much as I've preached that I think Herbert is a bit overrated. I still trust him more than Lawrence, and I just think the Chargers have the better defense here. So I took the Chargers money line at -120. I'm fine laying the 2 points as well. So give me the Chargers here.
Okay, I respect your case, but I think you can make a similar case in the exact same way for the Jaguars offense. I think this is a really good matchup for both teams. The Chargers run defense has been absolutely brutal. And I know, Trevor Lawrence has been a little bit up and down. He wasn't great last week. Well, guess what? If Travis Etienne is going to be able to run for 5 or 6 yards per carry, like I think he can against this bad Chargers defense who's been bottom 10 against the run all year, I think Lawrence is going to be able to have some success and they're going to be able to move the ball running the ball. So I think it's a good matchup for both teams. I just don't see a whole lot separating these two teams for me. So I think they're pretty evenly rated, and you're giving me the home team who gets an extra day of rest. They don't have to travel cross country, and they're catching 2 points. I just really thought the Jaguars were going to be favored in this one. And you also have a big coaching advantage. This is Brandon Staley's first playoff game as well, going up against a coach in Doug Peterson, who's won a Super Bowl. So while Staley is going to go up and go for it on 4th and 5 from his own 20 and then punt the ball at midfield on 4th and 1, or whatever the heck else Staley is going to end up doing, I trust Doug Peterson in a game that I think is really going to come down to the wire, and second half adjustments could be the difference in this game. So I like having Doug Peterson on my side here. And the other thing, I know you mentioned the schedule. The Jags haven't really played a ton of tough teams down the stretch here, but if you look at over the course of the season, both these teams have played 6 playoff teams so far. The Jags went 3-3 in those games, at least a little bit of a formidable record there. The Chargers went 1-5 against playoff opponents this year, their only win being over the Dolphins. They lost to the Chiefs, Niners, Seahawks, and Jaguars. So I know the Chargers dealt with injuries over the course of the year, but they haven't really been performing when they've stepped up in class this season. So I'm going to take the Jags here with the points. I like them at +2.
Yeah, the biggest worry backing the Chargers is definitely Brandon Staley. This dude's a complete wild card. You never know. You never know what he's going to do. He can flip the
game in one way or the other so quickly with one of these calls.
He's going to go for it on his own 1-yard line or something.
4th and goal from the 8-yard line he goes for. I mean, that's just a massive play for win probability, whether he makes it or doesn't. So
the Jags have also struggled throughout the course of the year in the red zone and on 3rd down and 4th down.
They've been getting a lot better, though. I think that was more the beginning of the year.
Yeah, they did get a little better towards the end of the season, but that was definitely a problem with them throughout a large portion of the season. And when you get down in the red zone in the playoffs, you got to find a way to get points on the board. So
I agree.
But
I think it should be easier to do that when you can run the ball for 5 yards every time you hand it off.
Yeah, well, we'll see if their defense can kind of keep them close and not force them to become a pass-first offense.
Surprised you're on the Chargers. I feel like you haven't been on them much this year. Not saying that you can't bet them this week, but they're not a team that you bet very often.
Well, I feel like they were getting for a large portion of the season and heading into the season, they were one of the most popular teams. Everyone loved the Chargers to win the Super Bowl, so they were getting way too much credit in the market. But now against the Jacksonville team, I just don't think is as good. I'll take a stab at them.
Okay. Any looks for you in the prop market here? I don't think I have anything officially bet yet.
Yeah, I bet Keenan Allen over 6.5 receptions. Since his
Okay.
return from injury, he's averaging 11.3 targets and 8.3 receptions per game. Already said I'm expecting a pass-heavy game script for the Chargers against one of the league's worst passing defenses. So I'll take his go-to guy in Keenan Allen. And we still don't know for sure if Mike Williams is going to be out there, but
Yeah,
I
definitely
don't
wouldn't
I
hurt.
don't think Mike Williams really affects Keenan Allen's targets, to be honest with you. But
I mean, if he didn't
regardless,
play, I don't think it would go down. I feel like
no,
people
yeah, for sure.
might go up, worst case. So yeah, I like
Yeah.
that play on Keenan Allen. That's a good call. All right, we will go to our next game here. This is the first game on the
Wait,
Sunday slate.
You're not going to play ETN? I feel like it goes hand in hand with your handicap, at least.
I've thought about it. It's a little bit higher than I wanted it to be. Where is it at now? Let me see. I think the last time I checked, it was like high 70s. Yeah, 76 and a half, 78 and a half. I'm wavering on it. I might get there. It's a little bit higher than I wanted it to. But yeah, I think if the Jaguars have success, it's probably going to be because of ETN.
Okay.
All right, first game on the Sunday slate here. We have the Miami Dolphins taking on the Buffalo Bills. We've seen a lot of line movement on this game today. The Bills up to a 13.5-point home favorite. The over-under at 43.5. No real weather here. Going to be in the low 30s, but no wind or precipitation here. Teams split the season series 1-1, and the big news coming out today is that Tua Tagovailoa has been ruled out for this game. It sounds like they're preparing to move forward with Skylar Thompson at quarterback and Teddy Bridgewater to be the backup, which I guess indicates that Bridgewater's pinky injury is probably pretty serious if they're not even going to attempt to start him with how bad Thompson's been. So it sounds like it's going to be Skylar Thompson. Not great. They also have Teron Armstead, Raheem Mostert, and Jalen Waddle all in the injury report. Mostert sounds like he's almost definitely going to miss. The other two we're not sure. And then the Bills are going to be without safety Micah Hyde again, and then obviously DeMar Hamlin as well. Do you have a player on this one at the current market? Any thoughts on the Dolphins quarterback situation or anything else you want to say on this one?
Well, I don't understand the Dolphins quarterback situation. If Bridgewater's healthy, I don't know why you're not playing him.
He can't be healthy.
Thompson.
There's no way.
But he's the backup, so he's obviously there.
I think it's just like in case of like if they have to put someone in there, like I don't know.
It just doesn't make sense to me. Thompson hasn't been good. He put up 9 points on offense last week, and
I mean, if Teddy Bridgewater just comes in and throws with his left hand, is he better or worse than Skylar Thompson? Like exactly. I don't know at this point. Like I don't get it.
Yeah, look, I have my concerns about this Bills team. Like Josh Allen's playing reckless. The red zone turnovers have been a problem the entire season. But in this matchup, the Dolphins haven't scored over 17 offensive points with Skylar Thompson at quarterback. The defense has stabilized a little bit, but it just feels kind of like a game where the Bills just come out and have their way and get at least close to 30 points. I don't see the Dolphins being able to score. Like I'd be shocked if they scored 14 points in this game. And the Bills, it seems like even when they have bad offensive performances, they're scoring at minimum 24 offensive points. So I mean, there's just really not. I can't find a way to make it. I mean, maybe if it hit like 15.5, 16.5, I'd consider taking the Dolphins, but to me at 13.5, it's still a strong
16.5. Jesus Christ.
To me at 13.5, it's still a strong lean to the Bills here.
I agree with you on the spread. So would you look at, because my favorite player was taking the Dolphins team total under. I played a ton of that today. I think you can still find a 15.5 is probably the best you can find right now. I still think that's okay. Like you said, they haven't scored more than 17 with Skylar Thompson in 2 starts. He has 1 touchdown pass and 5 turnovers on the season, 3 interceptions, 2 fumbles. Just scored 9 points last week, and 2 of them were on a safety against the Jets defense is good, but still. And also Tyreek, Waddle were both banged up last week. Skylar Thompson's actually on the injury report. He was limited in practice with a knee injury, so already bad quarterback, now hurt. Would you consider Dolphins team total under?
Yeah, now that the spreads move so much, if you miss the number, it's somewhat of a different way to get exposure to it, because I don't hate it. I mean, it could end up being like a 28-13 or 28-10 type of game or somewhere around there, or 27-14. So I don't like 13.5. It's a big spread regardless. We've seen it so many times this year. It's there's still NFL teams, like it's tough to cover these big numbers,
especially if Josh Allen's going to throw interceptions in the red zone and stuff like that. I mean, that kills you when you're laying 13.5.
So so at this point, I still lean to the Bills. I might prefer your team total play more than the spread at this point, just because it is such a hefty number. So I mean, I'm not expecting another Georgia TCU performance here, but I could see the Bills just really running away with this one.
Let's hope not. I don't think
Yeah.
anyone wants to see 65-7 here. That wouldn't be very fun.
No.
Props for me. I don't think I have anything on this one. I don't think we really have many Dolphins ones posted until we get the quarterback information. The Bills, it's tough. I feel like I bet on Stephon Diggs way too many times down the stretch here.
Yeah.
If he finally came alive last week, but really a guy that's hard to trust. And the Bills running game, you never know what they're going to do. So pass for me.
Yeah, nothing for me.
All right, the Sunday 4:00 Eastern game, we have the Giants taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings are 3-point home favorites in Minnesota. The over-under is 48.5. This is a rematch of the Christmas Eve game where the Vikings closed as a 4-point favorite in Minnesota. This is also Daniel Jones' first career playoff start. Injury notes: Leonard Williams, Azeez Ojulari, and Adoree Jackson all questionable for the Giants. They were all limited in practice today, which sounds like they're trending towards playing. And then for the Vikings, Zadarius Smith, Harrison Smith, Cam Dantzler, and center Garrett Bradbury, all questionable. Also got some positive practice notes on them as well. So it sounds like both teams will be pretty much at full strength here. Do you have a play on this one on the upswing New York Giants or on your Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah, so I have a play. I'll come back to it later. I'm like teetering back and forth on the spread because I'm leaning the Vikings here. I mean, you have probably the two most fraud playoff teams we've seen in recent memory.
Yeah, they go up against each other, of course.
Yeah, I feel like it's nearly. Yeah, these are two teams you're like, I can't all season. Like, I can't wait to fade them come playoff time.
Here they are.
Now they're playing each other, but it's pretty hard to make a strong case for either side. Like you said, they met a few weeks back. I was all over the Giants at +4, ended up covering, but the Vikings won. Giants probably should have won, outgained the Vikings by almost 100 yards. Daniel Jones averaged 8 yards per attempt on 42 attempts. But look, that's the identity of the Vikings. That's what they've done all season. That's what both of these teams have honestly done to some extent. They get outplayed and they find ways to win. The Giants blitz at the highest rate in the league, 7th in pressure rate, which is always a big deal for Cousins. But I think the big thing to watch is, can the Giants corners, we know Wink Martindale, he's going to blitz, he's going to leave the corners on island. So can these Giants cornerbacks stick with Justin Jefferson long enough for the pressure to get there? Well, we kind of saw in the first matchup that was the biggest issue here. He had 12 receptions for 133 yards. So I think that, to me, is the biggest difference maker in this game. The biggest advantage, the Vikings have the best playmaker on the field. They have more talent. So I just find myself gravitating towards the Vikings for that reason, that mismatch, the more talented team. And I honestly trust Kirk Cousins a little bit more than Daniel Jones still. So I'm a lean to the Vikings here. I'll have one play later, like I said, to get some exposure to them. But I think if it got down, like, I don't know, this one's a tough for me. Like, I don't know which way the market's going to go on this one. I don't think
it's going anywhere. I don't think it's coming off 3.
Like, I think a 3.5 popped up briefly, but it was pretty juiced. But other than that, it's held pretty steady at 3.
Yeah, I found a 3.5 for like 5 minutes and then it was gone. But outside of that, it's been 3 the entire week. I'm going to be on the Giants here. I bet them +3, +3.5. Also like the money line at +140. I just don't really see a whole lot separating these two teams. I think you made a pretty compelling case for the Giants when I was just listening to you there. They're ranked higher in DVOA, number 21 overall. The Vikings are 27. They outplayed them the last game these two teams played, and they could have easily won that game. I think both offenses should have some success moving the ball. I know it's obviously a good matchup for Justin Jefferson, and I see the Vikings putting up points. But I think Daniel Jones can have some success like he did in the last matchup. Saquon running the ball should be a matchup problem. I think the Giants have the better coach in Brian Daboll, and I trust Daniel Jones. I think I've been impressed with what he's done this season. He doesn't have a ton of receivers. He's just kind of getting the job done, doing what he needs to do. I trust Daboll here more than I trust O'Connell. And I just think that this spread at +3, we know it's going to be a close game. We know it's going to come down to one possession. I think you're going to want to be on the team getting 3 points and getting that cushion rather than having to lay those points, because I think there's a lot of outcomes where either of these teams win by 3.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, it's tough. Like I said, you can hard to make a strong case for either side, but you can go either way.
What's the percent chance that the Vikings win the game in your mind?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like that's why I'm like so conflicted, because it's not more. I can't say it's more than like 60%. So therefore, there's value on Giants money line, but I think the Vikings win. But I don't want to lay 3. I'm not going to lay -160. Yeah. So that's where I'm kind of conflicted. It's like
I think I was in your position the last time these two teams played. I was kind of on the same boat. I ended up having the Vikings
but
in a
that was
money
at
line
plus
parlay.
4 for the Giants. So that was easy for me to take. When it's just a
Yeah.
flat 3, it's
I wasn't
completely
really
different.
believing in the Giants. I needed to see a little bit more from them, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think I was in the same position. It is tough if you like the Vikings because it's hard to make a case to
It is
find
because
value on them here.
yeah, in terms of the numbers, there's not that's why I haven't actually bet them straight yet because
Yeah.
there's not much value in the actual number. So probably going to be a pass for me.
Yeah, if you like the Vikings, maybe don't force it. Maybe just see how the game starts out. We've seen the
Yeah.
Vikings in comeback mode that if you have to force the ball to Justin Jefferson a few more times, like that's certainly a spot where they could have success. Maybe you watch the first quarter, see how it plays out. Maybe then you can grab them and find some value that way rather than trying to force in a bet here when there's probably no value on the Vikings at this number.
Yeah.
Prop looks for you in this one.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson already made the case for him. I think it's a great matchup for him. Should be Wink Martindale rarely strays from the system he runs, so he should see some one-on-one coverage and, 12 catches, 133 yards in the last matchup. So 90.5 that's what it was earlier today when I bet it. And then I went with Saquon over 100.5 rush plus receiving yards. He had 133 total yards in the first matchup. He saw 10 targets in that matchup. Vikings are 19th in rush DVOA, allowing 123 yards per game, and also 22nd in DVOA versus running backs in the passing game, allowing 40 yards per game. So expect a heavy dose of Saquon in this one.
Okay, I like both of them. I'll be on them with you. That's all. Right. That's all for this one. All right, the Sunday night cap here. We have the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, two AFC North foes. The Bengals are up to 8.5-point home favorites. The over-under is 40.5. Big news here for the Ravens. It sounds like Lamar Jackson is trending towards missing this game. He's been out for over a month now. It doesn't sound like he's going to make it back for this one.
I'm so shocked. Lamar is so tough in all these battles through injury. I'm surprised he's not out there.
I said this last week, and you were like, no, I think he's really going to play.
Yeah, because I thought he'd grow some stones. My God.
No stones yet, and he's going to get like $500 million in a couple weeks. So Lamar's trending towards that. Interesting note from practice today. Apparently, Tyler Huntley is still not throwing the ball. He was in sweatpants while Anthony Brown took all the first team reps. So real dicey situation. It sounded like last week Huntley was good enough to go, and they just held him out for precautions. But now it's like maybe Huntley just like isn't ready, and it's going to be Anthony Brown again. So very tenuous situation here. Gus Edwards also questionable for the Ravens. And then for the Bengals, Lyle Collins and Alex Kappa both likely missing from this now banged up Bengals offensive line. Any thoughts for you on this one and how to play it?
Oh, I am praying Anthony Brown plays because I want the Ravens so bad at over 10 again.
You want to bet the rate with Anthony Brown?
Oh, at over 10, I want to bet the Ravens so bad with Anthony Brown. I teased the Bengals. I don't need to make a case for that. We all think the Bengals are going to win the game. But look, just hear me out. If we get news Anthony Brown is going to play, this line's probably going to go up to 10. And and last week we saw it. Like the Ravens defense can keep them in the game. Anthony Brown was his first NFL start. He looked shaky. He turned the ball over a ton. It wasn't pretty. He got it out of the system. The Ravens still outgained the Bengals 386 to 257. They held the Bengals to 4 yards per play. They sacked Burrow 4 times. They still ended up covering the closing number of 11.5 despite 4 turnovers. They could have made it one possession towards the end of the game if John Harbaugh decided not to kick a field goal on 4th and goal when they were down 14 points, and then Sammy Watkins fumbled at the end of the game when they were in field goal range. Cincinnati's missing 2 key starters on their offensive line. I think that's somewhat getting overlooked heading into the playoffs here. That's huge in this matchup. In the earlier matchup in the season, we saw the Ravens hold the Bengals to 17 points and win the game. Roquan Smith has been a huge addition to this defense, and the defense improved every week since he's gotten there. So I'm going to hold out and hope this hits up 10. I'll be on the Ravens. I could even be convinced with Tyler Huntley to take him at like an 8.5.
I can't do it on Anthony Brown. Did you see what his completion for attempts was last week? He was 19 for 44. That's incredible. 43% completion percentage. Somehow threw for 286 yards. They did get a couple big plays. I think I'm with you here. I'm not laying the Bengals at over a touchdown. For me, I think it's more finding creative ways to play the Bengals. I like them in teasers. I have them in a money line parlay. I think they're very likely to win the game. I do have a lot of respect for this Ravens defense, but I still think they can be beat by elite level speed, especially on the outside with guys like Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. We've kind of seen that this year with the Ravens cornerbacks, as good as they are, Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters. They're still susceptible to get beat by guys like Jamar Chase, who can just absolutely fly. We saw Chase put up what I think it was 8 for 86 last week. Also dropped like a 30-yard touchdown that was in his hands that he just couldn't haul in that he really should have had. Burrow missed T. Higgins on another long touchdown that could have been. So I think this Bengals offense was a little bit out of sync last week. Maybe all the off-field stuff coming into the game kind of got in their head a little bit, but I think they could have had a bigger performance. But I do respect this Ravens defense. So I'm not laying it here with the Bengals. I think for me, I'm very comfortable with them winning. I did play a lot of Ravens team total under. I think you can still get the under 16.5 at plus money. Since Lamar Jackson has went out of the lineup, 10 points against the Broncos, 16 against the Steelers, 3 versus the Browns. Their highest output was 17 against the pathetic Falcons defense, and then they finished off with 13 versus the Steelers and 16 last week. So I just really don't see this offense having a ton of success. Anthony Brown, whether it's him or Huntley, I don't think either one just has any weapons to really help him out enough. So for me, it's Ravens team total under and finding ways to get the Bengals to win.
Yeah, to that point, if you like the Ravens, if you're like me, you can almost do one of the one of the preset same game parlays where it's the under and the Ravens spread, because I think that is correlated. If the Ravens are covering, I don't think it's because they allowed 31 points and scored 24 points. I think it's because the defense played well and held the Bengals to like 21 or less points and when we're able to cover.
Did you say it's correlated or correlated?
Correlated.
I would say it's correlated. Personally.
Correlated. What did I said? Correlated.
Correlated.
Same thing.
Okay. All right.
Correlated.
So you're gonna bet the Ravens and hope for that's over 10.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait. See what happens.
Wait longer than you did last week.
Yeah, wait longer than I did. Well, the Anthony Brown news came. I feel like it came out of nowhere. It seemed like
Huntley. I told you he was going to start earlier in the week. I told you.
I bet the 10, and then it went back. It went back to 9.5. So I was feeling good. I had good closing line value all week, and then right before it was Sunday morning, it came out. Right.
I told you there was a good chance
he was going to start. They still should have covered. They still should have covered.
Could have covered, but they didn't. Prop looks for you in this one.
I got nothing.
All right, I have 2 of them. I went Roquan Smith over 9.5 tackles plus assists. I think this was plus 100 on Caesars and DraftKings. Tackle machine fits the Ravens defense perfectly. 16 tackles last week against the Bengals. 9, 14, and 11 in the 3 games prior to that. Even if the Bengals can't run the ball, I still think he'll be patrolling the middle of the field and racking up tackles like he normally does. This guy leads the NFL in tackles over the last few years. And then I went Jamar Chase over 70.5 receiving yards. I don't know why this line dipped so much. It opened in the low 80s. I thought that was more reasonable. 70.5 is just too low for a guy like Jamar Chase. 8 for 86 and 1 last week. Like I said, dropped another touchdown. Mixon was only 11 for 27 on the ground. I really don't see the Bengals having success running the ball on this Ravens defense. So I think they're going to have to attack them through the air. I could definitely see Chase going for 1 or 2 bombs in this one. And I don't mind an anytime touchdown at plus 100 for Jamar Chase as well.
All right. I kind of like the Chase line. That is pretty low.
I don't know why it dropped so much. After like the Ravens quarterback stuff, the line just dropped like 10 yards. It was weird.
It's up to 74.5.
All right.
Still kind of low, to be honest with you.
Yeah, something in the low 70s. It's good.
Yeah.
All right. Final thoughts on this one before we head on to the final game of the week.
Go Ravens. Keep my Super Bowl ticket alive.
Oh God, the Super Bowl ticket is not alive. I got bad news for you.
Anthony Brown led Ravens heading to the Super Bowl.
God almighty. Do you like the Monday night playoff game, or would you rather have them all be on Saturday? Really? I hate it. I want them all to be done. I want it to be done on Sunday. I don't want a Monday night playoff game.
Come on, just because you don't stay up past 9 o'clock doesn't mean some of us can't enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the late games, but still, I want it to be on Sunday. Sunday is the day for football. They spread it out too much. I want Sunday to be the day where all the action is. Now it's just like it's the whole weekend. I don't like that.
God, you love complaining about the scheduling. So on Monday,
it sucks. They always make it so complicated.
So all day Monday, you're gonna be like, oh my God, I'm so pissed. There's a football game tonight. Like, give me a break.
No, I'm just gonna want to know what happened Monday. No. I don't want to have to be worrying about, oh my God, did my Bucs tickets cash? I just
want to worry about it. Give me a break.
Because I'm worried they might lose. I don't want to lose a lot of money because I bet a lot on the Bucs. I want to know on Sunday. I want to watch it on Sunday's the football day. I don't want to watch it on Monday.
Only you would complain about there being a game on Monday night.
I think that's a pretty reasonable complaint.
God.
I think a lot of people out there are saying, thank you, Jeff.
Uh-oh.
Someone's finally saying
A
it.
lot of people are
It
incorrect.
needed to be said. All right. Speaking of that Monday Night Football game that I'm not too thrilled about, we have the Dallas Cowboys against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This one should be a fun one on the field. The spread is down to Bucs plus 2.5 at home. The over/under is 45.5. Leighton Vander Esch and Tyler Biadasz both questionable for the Cowboys, and then for the Bucs, expected to get a lot of guys back here. Ryan Jensen expected to return from IR. Vita Vea, Donovan Smith should both be good to go. Sounds like their secondary is going to be healthy, so pretty good spot here for the Bucs injury wise. Meanwhile, the Cowboys secondary is still pretty banged up here. What do you have on this one? Are you riding the Bucs train with me to the end?
Yeah, this is a case of like, who the hell are you? I mean, who the hell are the Cowboys to be laying 2.5 to 3 points on the road in the playoffs in this matchup? Complete, utter, and disrespectful. I don't even. Too respectful line to the Cowboys, you could say. What made this Cowboys team elite and great early in the season was the defense, the havoc they were able to create, the turnovers they were able to generate. The last 5 games of the season, the defense, this isn't including Dak's multiple pick sixes, the defense is allowing
get to that.
23.2 points and only 6 total sacks over the last 5 games of the season. Now they go against a Bucs offense with Brady, who rarely takes sacks. He throws the ball extremely quick, and a guy that only has 9 interceptions the entire season. We've seen it time and time again that this defense cannot get stops without the turnovers. So it's a matchup where this Bucs offense that we've hated to watch the entire season because of these quick passes might actually work somewhat in their favor. And, don't forget the last time we saw Brady play a full game, he threw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns and reminded us that he can still get the ball downfield. He had to wait till week 8 or week 17 to show us that. But
Mike Evans waited 17 weeks to finally play some football. My God, they needed this guy all year. He's been invisible.
Yeah. And on the other side of the ball, we know the story. It's Dak. He can't take care of the ball. He's 7 straight games with at least 1 interception. He led the league or tied for the league lead in interceptions despite missing multiple games. And my God, like, look at Dak's game log. Since going 14 for 29 and 1 interception against the Bucs in week 1, you could argue that he has seen maybe 2 above average defenses the entire season. One of them was the Eagles, who were missing 2 starters in the secondary. He had a great game, still threw an interception. And then Washington last week, where they put up 6 points and averaged 3.5 yards per pass. So the Cowboys, I think, are still getting credit for their early season defensive numbers. You can't trust Dak. You can't trust Mike McCarthy. So I'm backing Tom Brady here. I love the Bucs here.
Yeah, and as up and down as the Bucs have been, like, they certainly can't take a lot of positives out of what they've done. But they've shown some flashes recently. They go up against the Bengals, they dominate them in the first half, then they just have turnover after turnover, lose the game by 11. They barely beat Trace McSorley. Then they start slow against the Panthers, but they really turn it on in the second half, win a game that they have to win. So there've been some flashes, and Dallas has really just been trending down. The last 5 games for them: squeak out a win over the Texans, lose outright to the Jaguars, barely beat Gardner Minshew and the Eagles, beat the Titans AA squad in a game that really didn't look all that easy, and then get spanked by a football team starting a rookie quarterback with absolutely nothing to play for. So I think this is just really just a sell on the Cowboys, even more so than as a buy on the Bucs. I'm still not really a believer in this Bucs team. I think for me, this is just such a sell on what the Cowboys have been and how they've been trending. The defense outside of Trayvon Diggs, the secondary is just an absolute mess. Micah Parsons has like a club on one hand and might as well have like crutches on his leg. Like, I mean, guy's just completely beat up. He's huffing and puffing after every play. It looks like he's just completely beat down. He played over 900 snaps this year. And like you said, the turnovers is really just the total X factor here. Brady's taking care of the ball at an elite rate, and Dak Prescott just can't wait to throw interceptions. And if the Cowboys lose the turnover battle, I don't see how they're covering the spread, let alone winning the game.
Yep.
Bucs and teasers as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you pair them with the Bengals, Jags? Would you bet the Jags in the teaser, even though you're betting the Chargers?
Nah, probably not.
Okay. I did. I think I basically round robin Jags, Bengals, and Bucs today in teasers.
Okay.
I think all are pretty good legs. Prop looks for you in this one. I was a little bit disappointed. Chris Godwin receptions just dropped a little bit ago. It was at 7.5. It was plus money, but I feel like it's a little bit
6.5 now.
No, it's 7.5.
Oh, I thought you said it dropped.
No, I say the line dropped and it was seven and a
I
half, but
got you.
it's plus 115. But I really wanted it at 6.5, so it's
I'm
probably a
waiting.
pass for me.
Like I'll settle for the 7.5 at plus money, but I'd rather get like a 6.5 at minus 150, honestly.
Yeah, it's not up at FanDuel and everywhere. So maybe we'll see where the other books
Yeah.
post it. But I was really hoping for a 6.5. Did you have any other prop looks in this one? Because that was all I had on this one that I was looking for.
Yeah, I did take CeeDee Lamb over 74.5 yards. I do think Dallas is going to have to pass the ball here. Even in losing efforts and Dak can still put up a lot of yardage. Prior to last week, Lamb was on a stretch of 3 straight games over 100 yards. He's seen at least 7 targets in 8 of his last 10 games. He did see 11 targets in the first matchup in week 1 between these teams. He only converted it to 2 receptions for 29 yards, but I do think the volume's going to be there. So I'll take a shot on CeeDee Lamb.
Offensive Player of the Year ticket was dead before it even started.
Well, honestly, finished the year strong. And
I know,
Dak
it's just
missed
funny
the
thinking
games.
back to week 1. He had 2 catches and his starting quarterback like broke his leg or whatever. Dak had the injury, and you just thought it was just done right then.
It was an 80-1 ticket. All right, I didn't expect it to come home.
Yeah,
I do. Yeah, so
all right. That will wrap up our game by game breakdown here. I just realized that I don't have a long shot of the week, so I'm scrambling to try and get that in here as we will go to that segment right now. So I'll give you the honors and I'll scramble to make one while you're talking. Hopefully you have one.
Yeah, so I'm going to the Vikings game, and this is the one exposure I'm getting to Vikings. Like I said, I don't think there's a ton of value like on just the number playing it straight in terms of their money line, but I was kind of surprised at these odds. So I paired Justin Jefferson 100 receiving yards and Vikings to win, and it was plus 220 on FanDuel. So I really like those odds because I think Jefferson's going to have a monster game, and if he does, I think the Vikings have a good shot at winning. So Justin Jefferson 100 receiving yards and a Vikings win.
And what were the odds?
It was plus 220.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, because it's obviously very, very correlated that if Jefferson has a big game, Vikings are obviously more likely to win. I think that's a good way to play the Vikings money line.
Yep.
We're going to be going head to head here a little bit because my long shot of the week.
Plus 2. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, never mind. I clicked on the, no, you're good. I clicked on 110 receiving yards. So it was like plus 270 now, but.
All right. If you go more yards, they'll get better odds. Who knew?
Yeah.
We're going to be going head to head here on our long shots to some degree. I'm going to be in the same game, but I'm going to be going with the Giants money line. I'm going to pair that with a Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown. That's going to come out to plus 240. So we're both going star players on either side and then the money line on either side. So whichever side you like in this game, you can probably ride with one of us and we'll see who ends up cashing. Hopefully one of us at least cashes.
What's the numbers on Saquon TDs? Is it just a Deontay Foreman situation where we're just rolling it out there with no numbers to back it up?
Sorry, I did preface this beforehand by saying that I didn't have this prepared, but Saquon,
I just wanted to throw you under.
Let me tell you, this guy's been a touchdown machine. No, so he didn't score against the Colts. I actually bet on him to score in that game, which was unfortunate. Did score against the Vikings, so he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 touchdowns in his last 9 games. Finished the season with 10 total rushing touchdowns. So I think we can feel pretty confident that if the Giants get down to the goal line, which I think they're going to multiple times, it's going to be Saquon or maybe a Danny Dimes sneak. But I think we can feel good about Saquon getting in the end zone.
All right.
Scores way, way more touchdowns than Deontay. All right. Ready to get to our favorite bets of the week?
Yeah.
All right. Give it to us.
Yeah, I'm going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's just this number was jumping off the page to me when the lines opened. I still like it at 2.5. So I think all the threes are gone, but I'm fine with it. Take the 2.5, take the Bucs money line. I just think them getting 2.5 points here against the Cowboys team that just they're just not the same defense they were in the beginning of the year. So I'll take the Bucs at 2.5.
All right, I like it. I think I'm going to go with a teaser for my favorite bet of the week. Both these games are in perfect teaser range. So I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals, get them down to minus 2.5, and then pair them with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers up to 8.5. So we'll do a 6-point teaser at minus 120 Bengals and Bucs. Just think the Bengals are super likely to win with the advantage they have at quarterback Joe Burrow against either Tyler Huntley or Anthony Brown. I think they're very likely to win the game at home. And then the Bucs, we just kind of talked about it. It's really hard to imagine a scenario where they just get absolutely blown out here. I think that their defense is good enough to keep them in the game. The Cowboys aren't really going to be able to establish a run game. And Tony Pollard, he was someone that we haven't really touched on in our breakdown of that game. He has not been healthy recently. I think that's really hampered their offense. Like Zeke's been kind of wearing down. Tony Pollard looks like he's dealing with an injury. And when they can't run the ball, it puts even more pressure on Dak and this passing offense to be able to carry the load. So I think it's just a really rough matchup all the way around for the Cowboys.
Okay.
Just talking myself into more and more Bucs the more we talk.
Yeah, I know, right?
I have like 18 bets on them by the time we're done.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
All right. I think that will wrap up our breakdown for Super Wildcard Weekend. Do you have anything to add before we bid adieu?
Any overarching predictions for the playoffs? Who's your Super Bowl matchup? Who's your Super Bowl winner?
I got to tell you, I was looking. So I had the thought of last year when you had the Deebo Samuel for MVP.
Yeah, I know. I was looking at them too.
I was looking at the odds today, and they were not nearly as good. I think Deebo was like 40-1. I was looking at CMC, but he was only like 18-1, so it wasn't as fun.
Yeah.
My Super Bowl prediction, God, it's definitely going to be Eagles versus Niners in the NFC Championship. I think I'm going to go Eagles against the Chiefs for mine.
I have like no feel. I feel like there's just. I don't even think like past years. I'm like, oh, there's so many good teams. This year, I just have so many concerns about almost every team that I just don't. I feel like I don't have a strong opinion on anyone.
I don't love anybody. I agree. I'm not betting this marker. I don't feel strongly about anyone either.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't know. It's hard for me to take. I know like Brock Purdy's not the centerpiece of the offense. It's hard for me to think they find a way to make the Super Bowl. So
it is, but they're so good at the same time. It's like weird. It doesn't make sense, but they're also just so good.
I'm going to say Eagles versus Bills and Bills win.
Okay.
I think that neutral site game, if it ends up being Bills Chiefs, is going to be like not having to go to Arrowhead is going to be pretty big in that matchup.
Still tough. I mean, they have to get through the Bengals first, though. I mean, I don't know. They have a tough road.
Yeah.
Chiefs are sitting home. I mean, they don't obviously they got a break with the Dolphins this week, but still having to go through the Bengals and then the Chiefs is tough.
Bengals argue have a tough. I mean, like the Ravens are going to play them tough regardless. So it's going to be a physical.
You're not going to walk away from that game feeling great about yourself. You're going to beat the heck up and limping away.
Where the Bills could rout the Dolphins with Skylar Thompson. So I don't know. It'll be interesting, but. I'm gonna say I was gonna make a bold prediction, but I want to come out looking like an idiot. Like it would not shock me if the Bucs found a way. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. It just would not shock me if they found a way.
Oh man,
like the Eagles have looked pretty vulnerable. It's they play. I know they got crushed by the 49ers already.
I don't see them beating the Eagles. I don't see it.
I don't
see it.
I don't know.
And I'd be happy if they did. I'll tell you that much.
And who knows? Maybe the Vikings just grab a hold of their horseshoe and propel them to the Super Bowl.
There's a 0% chance the Vikings are winning. There's no way. The horseshoe is going to come to an end.
We'll see.
All right. Anything left to say?
Nope.
All right. Thank you, everyone out there, for giving us a listen. We'll be back next week to break down the divisional round. Make sure to check out the prop sheet on our Twitter page at BetRightPod. We'll post that Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Smash the like button on YouTube. From Jeff and Rue, we are the Bet Right Sports Betting Podcast, because every time you bet with us, you bet right.